This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, Shalom Aleichem everyone. I want to share with you a very interesting thought on the Parsha. So Lloyd is being rescued together with his two daughters and his wife. And the Malachim say, be very careful. Don't turn around. Watch out. Don't look, lest you be swept away by the sins of the city. And of course we know the wife of Lloyd couldn't control herself. She turned around. And the Torah says she turned into a pillar of salt. So I want to share with you that this pillar of salt that Lot's wife turned into was not any old, ordinary pillar of salt, but the Chazal teach us that there was something quite unusual about this pillar of salt. In the Perkei de Rabbi Lezer, Perk Chaf Hey, the Perkei de Rabbi Lezer teaches us, Va'adayin hi oimedes kol hayom. The pillar of salt still stands. Loichichem oisai hashoyrim. The oxen come and lick it up. V'yoyred, and they descend and eat ad aragleha, until her feet. Ubaboiker tzoymachas, and in the morning she sprouts again. Shenemar v'tabed ishta me'achara v'tihi netziv melach. So the Medrash is telling us, Perkei de Rabbi Lezer is telling us, not only did she turn into a pillar of salt, but there's this unusual phenomenon where the shoyrim come, the ox come, and they consume her, and then that salt sprouts again. Based on this Perkei de Rabbi Lezer, Reb Chaim Kanievsky addresses two very interesting issues. There's a Gemara in Nida, Daf Ayin Amud Beis. Says the Gemara in Nida, Ishtoi shel Lot, the wife of Lot, Mahu shetetame, is she tameh? Does she make other things tameh? After all, she died. She's a mess. So if you come in contact with her, does she render others tameh meis? Comes the Gemara, and the Gemara says, no, that's a ridiculous question. Amar lahen meis metameh ve'ein etziv melach metameh. A dead person is metameh. A pillar of salt is not metameh, and therefore the Gemara says the wife of Lot is not Matame. Comes Reb Chaim Kanievsky in the time of the Krah. And Reb Chaim Kanievsky asks, what do you mean? If you look in the Gemara Nida of Chav Zayin Amud Beis, the Gemara tells us that if a person died, and he died by being burnt, but the skeleton is still extant, it's the skeleton is Matame, even though it turns into Efer. So why, asks Reb Chaim, if somebody is burnt, but their skeleton is intact, is the body Matame? Why do we say Efer is Metame, and why don't we say salt is Metame? What's an afkamina? What difference does it make if the body turns into ashes, or if the body turns into salt? So I would say very simply, the ash is the natural byproduct of being consumed. So this is what happens. The body turns into ash when being consumed. It is the body being acted on chemically, and it breaks down into ash when it's being burnt up. Mashen Cain, when the wife of Lot turned into salt, it doesn't seem like there was a natural process that her molecules were reconstituted into salt. Instead, it was a davar nes, and that perhaps is the reason why she's not matame. But be it as it may, this is the question of Reb Chaim Kanievsky. Says Reb Chaim Kanievsky, no, there's a simple chiluk. Since the Perkei de Rabbi Lezer says that every day the oxen come and lick up her salt, and then it sprouts again. So then the truth is her skeleton, her main surah has been long consumed, has long gone, and whatever exists now is panam chadashos ba'u lakan, and therefore the Gemara in Nida Daf Ayin Amud Beis concludes Ishtoi shel Lot is not metame. There's another very famous question. Now Chazal tell us about Esau Harasha that Yitzchak Avinu loved Esau kitzayid bepiv, that Esau would trap his father by asking questions to make his father think that he was a Talmid Chacham. And one of the questions that Esau would ask his father is whether one has to take meiser off of salt. And that seems to be a very a question, an uneducated question. Of course you don't take meiser off of salt. Salt doesn't grow from the ground. Why would Esau think that you do have to take meiser off of salt? And why would Yitzchak consider this a question of chachma? Well, Reb Chaim Kanievsky discusses the Pirkei de Rebbe Lezer that says that the oxen would come and consume the wife of Lot up to her feet, and then it would sprout again. The Reb Chaim Kanievsky quotes Rav David Luria, who says, how do Chazal know that the oxen came and consumed the ashes and the salt regenerated and grew again? So the Radal says, Rav David Luria says, the word netziv is a lashon of planting something that grows. However, says Reb Chaim Kanievsky, despite the fact that this salt grew, in his opinion, there is no way that this salt would be chayv in meiser, because this is not called growing from the ground, but this is growing out of whatever little bit of salt remained after the oxen consumed it, and it's like kmein and pitrios, it's like mushrooms. Well, says Reb Chaim Kanievsky, based on this, it could very well be that this was Esau's shaila of whether salt is chayiv in meiser. Esau was not talking about any other salt, but he was talking specifically about the salt of the wife of Lot, because this is not regular salt, this is salt that grows from the ground. Maybe just to conclude, then it comes out that Esau seems to be very fascinated then with the wife of Lot, to be asking whether she in fact is chayiv in meiser, whether you have to take meiser off of her when she has transformed into salt. Similarly, we find that the oxen, the shar, we know the shar is the klipa of Esau, Yishmael is the chamar, and Esau is the shar, and Esau seems to then be, and the shar seems to be very fascinated with Eshes Lot. It could be that Esau has an interest over here because Esau's main competitor is Yishmael, and Yishmael, who will defeat Yishmael? Who will destroy Yishmael? Of course, Mashiach ben David. The Chamar, Mashiach ben David destroys Yishmael, who is the Chamar. Esau then seems to be quite worried about, in fact, what will be with the wife of Lot, who is the matriarch of Malchus Beis David. And Esau seems to be quite concerned about his main competitor, and that is Yishmael and the Malchus Beis David. So, some thoughts on the wife of Lot. Wish everyone a wonderful day.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.